In this episode, I talk with Amy as we explore purpose, core values, and the power of focusing on your why. We talk about moving beyond autopilot, understanding what truly matters, and creating a more meaningful, intentional life from the inside out. Welcome to You Matter, I Matter, a transformational podcast about reconnecting with what truly matters. I'm your host, James, and each week is an opportunity to explore a little bit deeper who you really are. With amazing guests, we explore topics such as purpose, connection, commitment, and what it really means to live more consciously. If you've been feeling disconnected from yourself, from others, or from life, you're in the right place. Join us on You Matter, I Matter. Now, let's begin. Shine a light on what's possible with a focus on why. Good morning, Amy. That's quite a statement. Can you explain more?
I can. It's a complicated yet also incredibly simple concept because it's all around what matters, what is purposeful, what is meaningful, what's sustainable. And it's about creating a lifestyle and understanding who you are at the core doing so. It's all around a legacy, living that legacy, but also understanding that the world is bigger than your own achievements and that what you're here to do is only possible when you believe this is. So there are so many elements that come into play, but the concept is simple. It's about living a meaningful life and enjoying that every moment. And instead of just filling in the moments, it's about creating moments which are fulfilling, which is a huge difference between those two.
Because that statement, you could talk about that statement for days because it's so mind-blowing and compact, and obviously brings in the why, the purpose, the bigger picture, and all that kind of stuff. And these are big, terminology that's thrown around nowadays. Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, it's more for me. It's understanding that I believe that we're all here for a purpose. And discovering that purpose, which can be quite a journey in itself.
I agree. And one myth that I am trying to dispel in my work is that we don't find our purpose by looking for it externally. We have to create and feel it from within. And that is a subtle difference in terms of people are looking externally for what will bring them the happiness and fulfillment. And yet it is within them to understand what it is that matters, what they stand for, what it is that they are operating from in terms of their core values. A lot of people don't understand what values are driving their choices and decisions. So understanding more about who you are first is deep work. And you have to be willing to put in that effort to understand more about who you are.
Well, let's go there then, just quickly. Because discovering who you are, that's a big path. I've been on this journey. Well, I've obviously been on the journey since I was born, but the last 10 years have been this really big commitment to personal and spiritual development. And it's this idea that we're in this world, but I feel that we're bigger than this world. This world is just very small, minute. There's something internally which is so much bigger, and it's kind of going within and discovering who you are. So how can people start to discover who they actually are?
Well, the values work is a really great place to start because it is understanding those choices and decisions that are driving your overarching intention, which is your purpose in life. Those are at the foundation. So to give you an example, mine are connectedness, diversity, effervescence, and brilliance. growth and fun. And the combination of those alongside my success values, which are impactful contribution and growth that sits there as well, it's all around understanding what I do and then how those combine to creating meaningful success for me really does help me understand what is in terms of a decision I want to make, whether that's a simple yes, no answer. So my life is filtered through my purpose and my why, and the why being separate from the purpose. And the why is, for me, the meaningful significance that I assign to my purpose. So the combination of those two, alongside my values, my success values, how I measure and mark and celebrate success, how I really look at the world through those filters, helps me to just navigate the path that I am choosing to create. So yes, it is an ongoing process. It is work that I will never essentially finish because it is always growing and evolving. And where I am now, and I'm in my early 50s, is a very different place from where I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s. And I'm evolving and growing and understanding that there is always more. And yet it's okay where I am. It doesn't mean I have to discard the knowledge or the understanding or the feeling sometimes that you might have if I've not got enough to do things, or I don't know enough, or the imposter syndrome or phenomenon, which will kick in, that feeling that I don't know enough to be doing what I'm doing. This is an ever constant growing feeling. You're never going to know enough. There's always more to learn. But what you do know is where you are right now is enough to get started. And that's, for me, the most important thing. And this is where shining a light on what's possible when you focus on why, that statement comes in.
I'm going to cover the why, the purpose, and the core values in a minute. But I feel like we ought to, before we do that, let's cover, tell me about yourself. What's your story?
Oh, that's a long question. At 51, James, there's quite a lot of story to share. But in terms of what's important and relevant for the listener right now, I think the most important journey to share is that I've been living on autopilot, and I was not aware that I was living on autopilot. I was just existing, going through the motions. I'd been swept up with other people's expectations and what it was to live life in London. It's quite easy to see what other people are doing and just think that that is the norm. And before I realized, I had drifted away from what mattered to me, what mattered to us as a family. And it was seeing my husband one evening when he came back late from work. I'd not been in the house for long myself, coming back in. The children were fairly young. And this is back in 2016. So 10 years ago now. And it was a real pivotal moment where I realized that things had to change. We had to create an alternative lifestyle for ourselves. It wasn't sustainable the way that we'd been living. And that triggered for me resigning the next day at work to create an alternative way for us to be living. And that took me on a 3-year journey of creating a business that would allow my husband to step away from where he was working. And he did. He's now running that business, and I'm now coaching, and I have been for the last 6 years. Since the pandemic started, I created the whole focus on why concept, brand, and coaching framework. And here I am now in 2026, absolutely living the lifestyle that I had been trying to achieve, but had just forgotten that's where I drifted away from. And so now every choice, decision, and it's very conscious, it's intentional. We had a big move last year, my husband and I. We right-sized to a new home after being in our home for 19 years prior to that. And we're now creating a new lifestyle around what suits us now. The children are finished university or almost finished, and they're going to be moving forward in their own ways. So we are now entering a new phase. And this is the constant evolution of what's now suitable for me right now. So the story there is that for me, it's about capturing what matters, challenging the status quo, really conducting an audit on how you're spending your time and just checking in with whether they are aligned with your values. And as I said earlier, my sort of success values have shifted. I'm focused on transformation and on that impactful contribution. And for me, freedom and autonomy, to have that choice to create opportunity and possibility is just so key. And this is why I've crafted a lifestyle where I get to do what I want to do. I get to spend my days how I want to spend them.
That's everybody's dream, and it's to be able to dictate how your day runs. And I'm on that path at the moment. The funny thing is, you said you started in 2016. That's when my journey began. But it's been the last 9 years. I've been I don't know if you're into numerology or heard about it. That's like a one phase, the 9 year. And so I feel like we're shifting into a new 9 year block. And it's funny how you said that how you've become this coach in living this lifestyle with your family, and now you and your partner, his husband, are shifting again. And it's funny how you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about numerology, but I'm all ears in understanding the concept of what it is you're describing. And, we've been together now, it'll be 31 years in April. So it's, we've gone through several iterations of those 9 year clips together. And we haven't always been completely aligned, but our values are very much so. So where we may have had different desires or different pursuits, there has always been a common goal or intention that's held us together in the relationship and in what it is that we want. I'm quite driven. My husband is very much more focused on community and serving and enjoying life, whereas I have bigger plans in terms of wanting to make a bigger difference. He makes a difference in the smaller space, and I'm looking to make different ripples. And that's okay. It's important that we have those differences, but we also have a lot of aligned connecting values and interests as well.
You're talking about core values and how that's the foundation of what you do. How can people start to discover their own core values?
So it's best done with a coach, because it's not just a case of picking out words that resonate. It's more a case of understanding when someone says what's important to them, what is it that gives them, and to go deeper. So it's several iterations of a process that I go through. And I mean, it is possible if you want to try and do it on your own. So one of the exercises that I recommend is when you're watching the news, for example, what evokes a significant emotion? What is it that you're feeling as a result of a particular story that really resonates? And it's likely that at the heart of that is a core value. So it could be respect or justice or an understanding of what it is you're standing for. And it could be joy. It could be love or compassion. But understanding that what surfaces is more likely to be the route to a core value as opposed to the actual value itself. So when you're doing values work with a coach, it's for the coach to ensure that they keep going until they find the absolute root as opposed to the root, which is the root value as being the ROOT, as about being the root to, which are the various ways in which you show your values It's the value itself. So that's something that's really key for me to discern a difference. And in terms of then what you do, it's just sitting with them, sitting with those and saying, right, are those actually guiding my decisions? Because if they're not, then they're not likely to be your core values. When you have a boundary that's crossed and you show the emotion of anger, for example, that's giving you a really good insight in what matters. So if somebody upsets you and you're triggered, then look at what it was that happened, because it's likely that they're a core value. So very often when someone gets really upset about being cut up in the car, it's likely that they feel disrespected for their space. It's been invaded. So they could have a core value of respect.
Because over the years, I felt as though I'm slowly finding my values. But what I find is as my life shifts, my actual values shift. So I'm wondering whether they're actual roots to the root value.
It could well be. And it's something that we could look at, James, in terms of what it is right now that is important, what it is that you are potentially sort of struggling to get the clarity around. And often there are many things that happen. We have different paradigms where we grow up. We've got our familial, our educational, our sort of the cultural, the social, all these different elements are combining. And so a lot of the beliefs that we hold are adopted as opposed to our own. And this is what filtering out sometimes values that we've been taught to live by, but they may not be the ones that actually are central to us. So that's the difference in discerning who you are from who others think you are or who you think you should be for others.
Yeah, it relates with regards to how society or your family can dictate your own beliefs, your own values. But at the same time, these values, I think, are underlined by their beliefs, which are kind of, yes, you might have those beliefs, but actually I feel sometimes those beliefs of your own, they're actually obsolete because they're not actually yours. And I've noticed, so quite often I'm very intuitive. I pick up on people's energy quite a lot. But what I've noticed is I quite often might get frustrated or angry, but I feel like I'm picking up on the collective frustration and anger. And so when I attune to that feeling or emotion, and I ask myself, is that actually mine? Quite often it's a no. So then can I decide to let that go? And I feel like it's the same for beliefs and perhaps core values. I don't know if it's quite as simple as that.
It's hard for me to say for this particular circumstance. I don't know what it was that you were experiencing for then that to happen. But it is like, in so many ways, we are attracted to what matters and we take on what matters. So maybe in that circumstance, I don't know, but the frustration around a concept or a circumstance that was happening, it might have been more that than the frustration. So yes, you picked up on the emotion, but you could probably have picked up on other emotions, but that was the one that resonated with you because of what it was in relation to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the relation to the situation going on at the time.
Yeah.
So if people are kind of like I think core values are, for me, I know that mine's first to it, love, freedom, and then love. Freedom, I feel like I'm an Aquarius, so I'm an air sign. I've always had that sense of freedom, growing up on a farm. And then over the years, I've attuned more and more to love. So these are two things which massively relate to me. But then also personal development. So working on myself, that's another key one. Fun, And I think it's key. Once I understand these, I can then actually, you were saying, dictate your life around them.
Yeah, I would ask just a question back to you, James. When you say freedom and love, is it freedom and love, or is it freedom to love?
I feel like it's freedom to love. I feel like now in this moment, because it's a sense I like to be free, but then also at the same time, there's freedom to be able to love myself or love other people in the way that I see fit, rather than being dictated by other people on what they think love is.
Yeah. And if I were to ask you a question, I feel like this is just in the moment here, if it's okay, if I have permission to ask a coaching question. Yeah. Okay, great. What does freedom to love give you?
I feel like freedom to love gives me the opportunity to kind of carve my own life in a way that I feel is able to direct me on my path, on my journey.
And what's important?
So it's the level of being able to love what I do in a way that makes me feel fulfilled. Being able to love my partner in a way that makes me feel fulfilled. So there's another one, fulfilment. It seems to be a big thing, being fulfilled in life.
And knowing that you've got that opportunity to carve your own life, how does that feel?
Say again, please.
Knowing that you have that opportunity to carve your own life, how does it feel?
Exciting.
Yeah. What else?
It's kind of exciting. It's that level of being able to explore, being able to explore, that exploring, and that sense of freedom. Again, it comes back around to freedom, and that sense of being able to do, like yourself, what you want when you want, but in a way that impacts other people. So, like, my why is to help the masses. And it's that kind of idea that being able to step into myself fully, I need to express myself in a way that isn't contained by other people's beliefs or thoughts or society's thoughts or anything like that. It's that way of expressing myself in a way that is able to connect to myself more deeply, spiritually.
And that self-expression and connection, what does that give you?
It gives me that sense to be me, be fully myself in a way that is able to speak my truth.
And truth means what?
Truth means me being able to really own myself, be myself, and not have to worry about the constructs of modern life and the constructs of what people think about me, and being able to just it's a sense of fulfillment. I feel like if I'm able to express myself fully, I feel fulfilled.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's finding that conversations with the right people to be able to do that. So and it comes back to community, finding the right people, the right group of people, that kind of thing.
So without this turning into a coaching session, James, what I've just illustrated or helped the listener to understand is just by challenging that freedom and love, by asking you a couple of questions about what those give you, what's come out of that is excitement, exploration, community, fulfillment, self-expression, truth, connection, among others. So what I would then do if we were having a session and talking about values is just exploring those more, because at the heart of freedom and love, it allows all of those other elements. And I would be looking at whether those were at the foundation and freedom and love got to truth, or whether truth gets to freedom. So we would work out which were the core. But I don't want to sort of take over this session here, but it was just a great illustration of when you share something actually there's more to it, and it's all linked. And, for you to have freedom, that's allowing you exploration. Exploration might be a core value. It might be a way of showing your freedom.
Yeah. Understand. So yeah, obviously we know how not necessarily complex, but how important it is to discover the foundation, which is the core values. So once we've discovered our core values, purpose is one of them buzzwords that come up. You see it in all these books, purpose. How can we discover our purpose internally, as you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So purpose is, for me, my definition is the overarching intention that guides your direction in life. So it's very much a case of understanding the path that you want to carve. And there are many different elements that fold into this. So it's not right, that's it. I'm going to write a statement and this is my purpose. And it's all very clear. This is a jigsaw puzzle that you put together using the different elements. I have a framework of which it's very simple to follow. And it starts with understanding and really what you can and what you can't control. So getting to the core of that first, because we can be concerned with so many things that are actually outside of our remit, our influence. Once you've got that, we then look at what it is that is happening. So we challenge the status quo and we understand and we separate out other people's beliefs from our own. And then we capture who we are. So there are exercises that I go through to form the purpose of who we are. But it is a real stripping away and then sort of understanding who you are. And so it is not an overnight thing. And yes, purpose has become a buzzword. It's used in business a lot because it's really core to the strategy of a business. And without it, then it's the foundation of a business is lost. A founder may start with a very clear purpose, but over time it may be lost because of the day-to-day complications. So coming back to the core element of the purpose of a business and having everybody subscribe to that is central to fulfillment individually and collectively. So in terms of this purpose piece, once you have a clear idea of who you are, then you can start to look at how you then put that into action. And then that's how you put together a plan. And then you then focus on the why, which will then help you commit and sort of contribute in terms of where you are able to, either for yourself or for local or for national or for global, make an impact. It's very much a case of purpose allows you to step outside of your own personal achievements into a bigger contribution.
So it kind of gives you more of a bigger focus. So yeah, I can, yeah. It's quite hard to head around it a little bit. Can you explain it a little bit? So how I'm struggling with the regards that it was quite, what's the easiest definition of discovering your purpose?
Again, it's a case of different elements folding in about what matters, what your values are, what it is that you stand for, your strengths. Okay. So coming together, all of those elements give you a picture of who you are. Okay. Right now in this moment of time, to then understand where you want to go, what you want to do, who you want to be, how you want to evolve. The purpose gives you the shape, just an overarching intention. It gives you a guideline. Okay. The focus on why is what sits beneath that, which is the emotional significance that is driving that. It's why it matters to you. So a purpose can be something such as, I want to create global peace. Why do you want to do that? The focus on that is because and I'm using someone's example here of one of my guests from a podcast. She experienced the death of her father in a bomb. And so it matters to her to work on peace and to work on how conflict can be resolved. So her focus in life is on conflict resolution. That's her purpose. But the why is because she was affected by the loss of her father in that process through political differences. So it's very much a case of the why is the fuel and the purpose is the action.
Okay. So I did a little diagram. So you've got like your strengths, your core values and all that kind of stuff, which then brings in to a little ball your why. Then you've got the kind of the action, which is kind of the guideline, the why, which then gives you the actual velocity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't overthink this, James. It's in terms of I have a combination of reflection with action. Reflection is where you are able to understand what matters. In that thinking, in that understanding, in that process of really diving deep, you then create this understanding of what it is you need to do, which takes it into action. So the why is in the reflection and the purpose is in the action.
So I'm currently writing a book, a 12-month journey of becoming a more conscious, connected and safer man. Now, the why is because I went through a 5-day romance at a festival, and by the end of it, she said that she didn't feel seen. So my kind of why regards to the book is because I didn't feel seen, I felt as though as a man, it's my responsibility for myself to just figure out. Obviously, there's going to be other complications of her own stuff, but my stuff was, can I help myself become more safer, more connected and present? And that's my why. And that was the direction of the book, so that's the purpose. The why is because I want to bring that into the world to help more men. Is that kind of similar?
Yeah, it's so personal to everybody. And this is why I am conscious that people are externally searching for a why, or they're looking and they're not finding it and they're getting frustrated when people have clarity. The clarity is around what matters to you. Okay. So you're not going to find this somewhere in a book because you have to do the work about what matters to you. Okay. The answers are, and as you just described, it's a personal experience. A lot of people who have a very clear understanding of their purpose and their why tends to be because they've had a significant catalyst in their life, which has taken them to an extreme where they may have had a loss or they may have had a personal health issue. That helps to crystallize what matters. And so they fast track that journey in that way because they have this clarity. When things are just running day by day and there is no significant event that creates this desire to find a purpose, then it is a case of, well, my life's okay. And so it's not as clear cut. I find that you don't need to have the big significant event. It just helps fast track it because it really does take you to a place that's uncomfortable. And this is what a personal development journey can be. It can be uncomfortable. It's not easy. We can tell ourselves comfortable lies rather than facing the uncomfortable truths.
Vulnerability, that's a big word. That's a big word. And it's also a very scary word. So obviously, what's the difference between somebody who has their why honed in and somebody who perhaps doesn't? Because why I'm asking this question is there might be people out there who think they know their why, think they know their purpose and are moving forward, but they perhaps haven't got it honed in or they're kind of struggling a little bit with it?
Yeah.
How can they tell?
Because they might be burning out, or they might feel something's off, that they are achieving all the things that they thought that they wanted, and yet something still feels like missing. So it's that I can't quite put my finger on this. I can't quite understand why. Everything doesn't really sort of hit the mark, even though I've achieved that goal, because they're not actually aligned with you. So yes, you may be achieving, but it's not of interest, really. It's not what is ticking all your boxes. So this sort of apathy, or this not feeling as though you're being successful, not feeling, or you're burning out because you are exhausted. I don't know anybody who is living their purpose and is absolutely joyous who is also exhausted. Because
a lot of sense. Actually, because I feel like sometimes you can get to that point where you think, oh yeah, I've had a good day, but you don't quite feel satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's because what you're doing is not aligned with what matters. And you're not measuring and celebrating those successes in a way that you are truly understanding them. It's like a forever to-do list, or it's a running a race that the finish line is just constantly moving. Yeah, you never quite get there. It's like, is that it? And that's another indication that you're not living with purpose. So yeah, you can be existing. You can have a great life. You can feel as though everything is running smoothly. And yet, if you're really true, you know that something's a little bit off.
Yeah, and I think it's more or less to kind of moving the dial a little bit, discovering more about yourself, and then taking those steps.
Absolutely. At the moment, according to Gallup's last report, there'll be one coming out soon, but the 2025 one stated that 79% of the global workplace are either not engaged or actively disengaged in their work. I believe that there is a solution to this, and it is to understand how to take personal responsibility for your own knowledge of what fulfills you. And this is the issue, is if you don't know what fulfills you, how are you possibly going to feel fulfilled?
Yeah, personal responsibility, I think it's key. I think, so I remember, 2016, the first year of the 9 cycle, I went for a breakup. And that I remember 4 days after the breakup, I made a commitment to myself that I'm never going to be in that place again. Where I was at my lowest, anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And I never have been. I might have been through other relationships and come through breakups, but I feel like if you make the commitment to self-responsibility, you will evolve. And I feel like that's what's happened in my relationships. You've evolved, and I've got to this point now where the beginning of a new 9-year cycle, where I feel like I've been able to push all that aside with forgiveness, and it feels all complete. And I feel like that is fulfillment.
Great. And this is is so powerful around transformation, personal development, understanding, and creating a life that is meaningful to us as opposed to everybody else. We have to personally understand what it is that is going to give us fulfillment before we can. It's this self-connection. It's so important. It's important to be connected to others, but to be connected to yourself first is at the heart of it all.
Thank you very much, Amy. Can you tell us how people get in contact with you?
Absolutely. I'm on all the social media platforms, particularly LinkedIn. The name is Amy Rowlandson, and I have a website called amyrowlandson.com. I have a podcast called Focus on Why, and a book with the same name.
What do you offer people?
One-to-one coaching, group coaching, and I also run workshops. So any of those, if you are looking for a more purposeful life, then reach out and connect with me and we can have a conversation.
Thank you for listening. If something in today's conversation resonated, take a moment to sit with it. And if you feel called, share this episode with someone who might need it too. You Matter, I Matter is a growing space. And if you'd like to stay connected, you're welcome to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps this work to reach people it's meant for. These conversations matter. You matter, I matter. Until next time, take care of yourself and the relationships in your life.